Tell me about yourself, doctor, about you, your educational background.
So I had biochemistry, medicine chemistry, organic, inorganic, a lot of different formats. And then I also had anatomy, physiology, for sure I had clinical research. So all of that is helping me here.
Oh my God.
Now a lot of Indian brands make products specifically for Indians.
Korean glass skin.
I actually recently visited Korea and I was very focused on how their skin were looking. If I do that here in India, I will start sweating because it's a very humid climate. A lot of them had enlarged pores and a lot of them had acne issues.
Better to buy brands which are homegrown. Hi, everybody. Cosmetics. Who doesn't love them? In today's world, whether it's an infant or an adult, from man to woman, every single person uses at least one cosmetic a day. But are these cosmetics really safe for you? Today's guest, Dr. Padmavati, is a doctor in pharmacy. She is the head of R&D at Sri Mitra's consultancy, and she's going to talk about cosmetics and what they do to us and how they affect our health. Dr. Padmavati, welcome to the podcast. And this is such a important conversation to have, and it's something that everybody should hear and everybody should know because we all buy products off the shelf from every. It's so easy, every social media platform bombards us with information, and so many products are available today. I use body lotion for my son, and it always makes me wonder whether I'm using the right product or not, whether I'm doing the right thing as a mother for my son. And I'm sure everybody must be feeling having this question in their head. First, tell me about yourself, doctor, about you, your educational background, and what you do.
Hi, I'm Dr. Padmavati Balaji. I'm heading the R&D at Sri Mitra Consultancy. Sri Mitra was founded by my dad in 2006. He is Balaji Balasubramanian. He has over 30 years of experience in the industry. And I've been a part of Sri Mitra for the past 5.5 years. I'm a doctor of pharmacy. At Sri Mitra, we develop different kinds of skincare, hair care, oral care, and color cosmetic products. We do both modern cosmetic products as well as Siddha and Ayurveda-based cosmetic products.
Interesting. What is your educational background? Like, what does it take to become to enter this field?
A landscape of cosmetics, you need to have a background in chemistry and biology. I'm a doctor of pharmacy where I had exposure to different chemistries. So I had biochemistry, medicine chemistry, organic, inorganic, a lot of different formats. And then I also had anatomy, physiology exposure. I had clinical research. So all of that is helping me here. But you can also get a proper degree in chemistry and biology, like a BSc or an MSc. And then there are also degrees available just to focus on cosmetics, like the BTech Cosmetic Technology, but they focus just on the cosmetic formulations. Whereas other aspects of just plain chemistry or biology will focus on general things, and then you have to get into the industry and gain experience in this field.
So you took it up because you watched your father do this, is it?
Yeah. So he founded this company in 2006. At that point, our lab used to be a small part in our home. I've always seen him work there. I've seen him do a lot of experimentation, and I was very curious. And somehow I knew that this is what I wanted to do when I grow up. So that's how I chose to do the doctor pharmacy degree, and it's been about 5.5 years now.
What are the kind of projects you actually take up at Sri Mitra Consultancy?
So in our firm, we design the formulation based on the client's needs. So we do skincare, hair care, color cosmetics, and also oral care products. So let's say a brand comes to me and they say they want to make a sunscreen product. I have a set of questions that I usually ask them. If they want to make a sunscreen, I will ask them what SPF they will need, what PA rating they will need, and what about their audience, what will be their pack size, their MRP for this. So once I get all that detail, I design a formula specifically for that brand. So if they want to make any specific traits around the product, now that we see free from sulfates, parabens, silicones, we have so many free from traits now. So based on all that, I will design the formula for them. So that's what we do at Sri Mitra. And once the formula is developed, I send the client a sample for them to try it out. Based on their feedback, we do a bunch of reiterations also. So they might like how the product looks, but they might feel that it could be more of a matte finish than a dewy finish. So then I go back to the drawing board, work on the formulation more, and then I send a sample again. So this goes back and forth for about 3 or 4 times, and then the product is finalized. After that, we do something called a stability study. But we usually see the cosmetic products have a 2 years or a 3-year shelf life. So for that, we need to make sure that the product is going to be stable for that 2 or 3 years. For that, we have a stability protocol in the lab, which we have to conduct. After that, the product goes into clinical testing and safety testing, and then it's manufactured.
So you help in manufacturing as well?
No, we are only an R&D firm. We don't do manufacturing. Our clients either have their own manufacturing unit or they get it done with a third-party manufacturer. But we guide through the whole process. So once the formula is developed, we help them with the raw materials. We give them the whole formula with the raw material, the percentages, the manufacturing procedure. And once everything is set up at the facility, our team goes there and helps with the tech transfer. Because in the lab scale, we would have taken a trial of, let's say, half kg or 1 kg maximum. But when we go for a bigger vessel, let's say 100 or 200 kg, then the process will vary slightly. So we need to be there to help the manufacturing team understand how the process is and we'll be there to scale with them.
So you do batch testing for every batch that gets manufactured in whole scale also?
Testing is the dermatological testing we do for the basic formula. But each batch of the product undergoes different kind of analytical testing. So the basic ones are you check the pH of the formulation. It has to be consistent with the formula that was developed in the lab. So if I say 5 to 5.5, every batch should be between the pH of 5 to 5.5. Then we check the viscosity of the product. We check the microbial content of the batch. So these are standard testing for each of the batches.
I'm just trying to understand when the product is out, understand or how do you test whether this is somebody is allergic to it or not?
So before the product is even finalized, at the formulation stage itself, we do two kinds of testing. One is the safety study, where the product is applied on human subjects and tested for allergy for about 1 month. The next testing was the efficacy testing, that let's say I'm making the retinol cream. We have to see if the retinol cream is actually working on the wrinkles. So that will be a study for 2 or 3 months where the subject will keep on applying the product every day and the wrinkle depth will be measured on day 1, on day 30, on day 60 and day 90. So we do these kind of testing at the formulation level itself. If the results are not as expected, then we go back to the drawing board. So it's a whole process. There's a lot of trial and error.
And who are these subjects? I mean, you have...
These kind of studies are done by clinical research organizations. They have to get an approval from the ethics committee because we are actually using human volunteers. So ethics committee approval is must there. Once it is approved, they usually take about 30 volunteers for these kind of trials. And the whole thing is governed by that clinical research organization.
You know, if there's an aspiring entrepreneur today who might be watching this episode and he or she wants to create a product for their brand, what would be the step-by-step guide that they need to follow to achieve that goal of creating a product for their brand?
Somebody very new to the field is coming in. They want to have a skincare brand. There are two paths here. Either they already know what product they want to come up with, or they have no idea. They just know that they want a skincare brand on their name. So we can help in both these aspects. If somebody knows what they want, it becomes a little easier. If they don't have any idea, we keep ourselves very updated. So we are up to date on the new raw material launches, new actives that are in the market, the trends that are in the market. So we attend different conferences, different seminars. We are always up to date. So we can give them our input on what will work in this market based on the audience that they want to cater to, the price range that they want to position their product at. So this is how they can start. Once they, as I told you before, if they want to make a specific product like a sunscreen, they will give me a product brief. So they will tell me, this is the kind of product that I want. They might have some benchmarks in mind. They might come and tell me that they want a sunscreen like Beauty of Joseon. So I will get that product. I will figure out what they have done. I will look at the ingredients list. And based on that, I can try and match the same product. Or they might like certain aspects of that benchmark and not everything. Beauty of Joseon, they might like how lightweight it is, but they might not like the dewy finish. So I have to make it match. So all those things can be developed in the lab.
Like for example, when you whip up one batch, like of a kg, will you tell them what is the cost for that batch so that then they can understand how to do the pricing? How do you arrive at a pricing for a product?
Okay, there are two ways here. One is they might say they want to have a brand, they want to position their sunscreen at 500 or 600 rupees. So I can back work. If the product of 50 ml is for 500 rupees, usually brands do 4x or 5x the raw material, packaging material, and the conversion cost. That's how I can back work. So I will keep in mind that the per kg cost of the product, the raw material alone, will be around 1,500 or 2,000. Or they might bring a very expensive benchmark and ask me to match that. or have different actives in their mind and they want to put everything. Now that PDRN is very trending, retinol is very trending. If I have to put a higher concentration of these, the cost is obviously going to go up. Then once I make the batch and they like the sensories, I will give them a tentative cost of the product. I will say this could be around 2,500 or 3,000 per kg. Based on that, they can decide. Some brands, once they get this approximate cost, they want to reduce the cost. So we do go back to the drawing board and reduce the concentration of certain artists. Some brands are okay with it. Usually, when brands are starting up, cost margin is a little less for them because the higher the volumes you get, you can negotiate better the raw material and the packaging material cost. So when they start out, their MRP could be like 4x or 5x the base cost. But as they grow, it can even be 10x.
The information you have is like literally like the holy grail of all cosmetic lovers, watching today. I have this question where there is a general, at least a lot of people I have met where they feel that products which they buy from UK and US is so superior. Is that actually true?
It depends on the brand again. See, our Indian skin is actually very different to Caucasian skin or African skin or even Asian skin because now Korean everyone.
Yeah, oh my God, the Korean glass skin.
Indians, our major concern is pigmentation. Whatever we do, we get pigmentation instantly. We have an acne burn, the next day we get pigmentation. We go out in the sun for half an hour, pigmentation. That is our major concern. Wrinkles are not a major concern. Acne, yes, to some extent, but sagging of skin is not a major concern for India, or an enlarged pores is not that big of a concern. So we need to see what kind of products that they're incorporating. If a US citizen is using a retinol-based product, doesn't mean retinol is going to work in the same way for us. Or if a Korean person is using something to get a glass skin, it might not work for us because I actually recently visited Korea and I was very focused on how their skin were looking. A lot of them had enlarged pores and a lot of them had acne issues. Nobody had pigmentation issue. So if a Korean brand is saying, okay, this is going to get rid of your hyperpigmentation, we need to think before we buy that because our skin is different. And then when Koreans have glass skin, it is usually that they apply a very thick layer of moisturizer or a facial oil. So it looks very shiny because of the oil. If I do that here in India, I will start sweating because it's a very humid climate. So we need to see what actually works for us. Now, a lot of Indian brands make products specifically for Indians. Will take care of our issues.
So basically, it's always better to buy brands which are homegrown. That's what you're saying.
Yes. The technology has developed so much. There's nothing that Koreans can get that we cannot get here. Every active is available here. Every new technology is available here. So I feel most of the indie brands are doing a very good job now.
So are you also, your technology, your skills are also contributed to the, like for example, the skin therapy institutes like VLCC or a lot of, do you also work with the products that are used there in the massages or?
Yes, we do. So we cater to different kinds of clientele. So we do FMCG kind of products. We do D2C brands that are getting very popular these days. We do proper Siddha Ayurveda kind of products. We also do products for salon-based brands and skincare clinics like you mentioned. The efficacy of the product and the sensories of the product are going to be very different. If I want to make a massage cream, nobody at home is going to use a massage cream. It has to have a longer play time, which will be specifically used by the massage therapist at a clinic. So the product formulations vary. It all depends on the client's needs.
Padma, you said that you have a very small team and you are very selective about the clients you onboard. What is your criteria to onboard clients for your business?
So first, when a client comes to me, I look at their enthusiasm and by their talk, I get to understand how passionate they are about the business. I work with very, very big brands now. Sorry, I cannot name them. But I've seen how they come to me. They have, they do a lot of homework. They know what exactly they want, even if they don't know any technical stuff, which is fine because that is what I'm here for. But they are very passionate, and that's what attracts a client. So that is how I pick my clients. We do get queries from very big companies where they say, I'll give you 100, 200 products to formulate, but at a very, very small, which is not going to work for me because that is not what I want to do. I want to create products that are very unique, that are actually efficacious. First time in India, first time in the world kind of products, which I have done. That's what give me joy.
So the first time in the India, first time in the world tag is actually a real thing. I thought it's just a marketing gimmick.
No. Sometimes it could be marketing gimmick, sometimes, but I'm very sorry I'm not able to name the product.
Yeah.
But it's actually doable, and there is a lot of gaps in the market. There are a lot of things that can be done. I have too many things in my mind, which I'm just waiting for some brands to just come and pick up.
Okay, awesome. That's then I think people really need to get in touch with you. If they're aspiring product creators or owners, they want to be in future. So guys, I'm going to tell you one interesting thing. I'm sure all of you use cosmetics. If you want to understand your cosmetic better and to understand whether you are using the right product, please comment and write at the bottom of this episode so that Padma can get back to you and tell you more about what you're using and whether you're doing the right thing or not. And this is an amazing opportunity for us to connect with somebody like Padma, and you must use this opportunity. Thanks, Padma. It was so amazing talking to you. And I love your approach towards entrepreneurship, which is so, I can just see the passion, like, when you speak about it. We'll meet in the next episode with some more interesting information for the viewers.
Sure. Thank you, Rashmi.